Hello everybody, how's it going? And welcome back to Next Gen. I know these tier list videos are like fucking everywhere, and they're kind of annoying in some circles, but I've been perusing the Tier Maker website, which is where all these tier things are coming from, and I saw this one, and I was like, ooh, that looks fun, and I'm having a lot of fun just talking about shit and ranking based on shit I talk about. So I was like, fuck it, let's do Nintendo's consoles. It looks like pretty much everything is here. I don't see the 3DS. Oh no, I see the 3DS. The 3DS XL is there. We'll just clump those together. Same with I see, looks like the DSi or DS Lite. We will clump the regular DS, DS Lite, and DSi into that one too. Otherwise, I think all the consoles are here. Yeah, even the Switch. Cool. Okay, so let's begin. We may as well start with the one on the end here. The fabled Super Nintendo. Or should we go by age? No, let's just go by list here. The Super Nintendo is amazing. I love the Super Nintendo. It's the one I grew up with, so I have a lot of bias. Its game library is top-notch. It is better than the NES's game library, I believe. I actually think it's one of the best game libraries Nintendo has ever released. Disagree with me all you want there, for various reasons. But in my opinion, things like Castlevania 4, Super Ghosts and Goblins, of course the original Mario Kart, Super Mario World was amazing. Those kind of games. Oh, Pocky and Rocky is really, really fun. What else? F-Zero's great. Donkey Kong Country 1 through 3 is amazing. What am I missing? There's so many titles. There's so many titles. There's a game, Revolution X was really fun. It's not very well-known game. Some of the hockey games were even a blast. Plus, you have some of the best homebrews out there for the Super Nintendo. If you're into homebrew stuff, some of the best out there are for the Super Nintendo. So that has that going for it. Its controller is pretty well designed, nice and rounded, big enough for, most hand sizes. I have quite large hands, and I find them not too bad. A little bit on the small side, but that's most controllers, honestly. So good button placement and stuff on them as well. Yeah, fucking S tier. Love the Super Nintendo. S tier for Super. Super Nintendo gets that one. Absolutely amazing. A lot of bias in that one, though, I have to admit. Okay, Nintendo's newest console, the Switch. Pretty interesting concept. It honestly feels like the Switch was what they wanted the Wii U to be, and they failed in the Wii U, at least on that concept, but succeeded in the Switch. I like the portability of the Switch, being able to play console games on a portable system. Though I don't own a Switch, I have played it multiple times over at many friends' houses. I've heard the battery life is pretty poor, but of course you can plug it in to charge it anywhere. It doesn't have to go in the dock. I don't believe so, anyway. Yeah, its portability is pretty cool. Has a lot of great games. The first good Mario Party in I don't know how long. Pro controllers on them are pretty good. They're very similar to the Wii U setup, so they're very good. Nice big controllers with good button placement, comfortable to hold and use, easy to use in stuff like Smash and other such games, Mario Kart and such. Very easy to use. I do have to say, the base controllers that come with the game. So if you don't put it, so you can see in the little picture there, it's in its slot, so it makes it more of like a Pro Controller setup. When you take out those two colored nunchuck things, they're very small. They are about the size of the Wiimote nunchuck. So they're very, 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 very tiny. And games where you, say, want to play with your friends, Mario Party withstanding, Mario Party, all you have to do is like press one button or shake stuff around or just move around. That's not too bad. But games like Mario Kart, like Smash, pretty much anything. Mario Bros. For the Switch, Skyrim, for God's sakes, that would be a fucking nightmare. Doom even wouldn't be very fun. But these itty bitty little fucking controllers, they're so fucking small. You have to have like itty bitty baby hands. And I know Nintendo's very geared towards kids, but you have this older generation that wants to play Nintendo still. Smash is targeted at the teen audience and the Nintendo audience that is getting older and has big fucking hands. Hate that about the controller. Another thing I don't like, of course, Nintendo is very bad at keeping up with the status quo. I know graphics are definitely not everything. Nintendo proves that time and time again, but they should really try to keep up with that because they could be left in the dust and turn into a Sega. Don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, but the possibility is there as they kind of get farther behind. Still like the Switch quite a bit, though. Gonna put it in the A tier. Now we come to a fucking abomination. Oh my Jesus Christ. The Virtual Boy. Half of it is cut off there, which is fine. It deserves to be. It's a pile of absolute garbage. The Virtual Boy was released in the 90s. It was meant to be a virtual reality headset, but it really just ended up being a 3D headset. So there was very few games that, took the VR aspect and really ran with it. Telro Boxer is one of them. And there's another game that kind of does it as well. I forget the name of it, but it's like a Star Fox clone that does a decent job of it, but it's all wireframe, so the game's shit. Some games that take precedent of the 3D at the very least are like the tennis game that comes with it, and there's a Wario game, I forget the name of it, Wario Land or something like that, that's a platformer that uses the 3D space quite well. The games overall are good, it's just the system. It's in red and black, which strains your eyes. It comes on a stand with a controller that has to be permanently plugged in. The controller plug-in comes off quite frequently because you're going to put it against a table and it's going to nudge off. The system itself gives you a massive headache from the red and black and eye strain. And it's also touted as a portable console with no head strap. So everything going bad for this. I think there's only like 13 games in North America that were ever released for this console before it bit the dust. Absolute fucking D tier. Shitty console. Just a piece of fucking trash. The Wii U. The Wii U was very ambitious. I think they should have gotten away from the Wii name. I think that would have helped it a little bit. I like the Wii U pad, although I found it overall pretty pointless, with the exception of families. I can understand, dad wants to watch sports, you want to play your video games, well fine, just, play it on the Wii pad while dad watches sports. Great. Everybody's happy, right? It's like a little TV screen video game portable console. Hooray, again, kind of like the Switch. Again, still think the Switch was what they wanted to do in the first place. But the Wii U pad really didn't have any other uses outside of that until games like Mario Maker came along, where you used the touchscreen pad and stuff to create levels. That was quite clever. Mario Maker being one of the best games on the console by a long shot. Of course, you have your regulars like Smash and all the Mario parties and whatever, and Mario Kart 8, which is debatably one of the best Mario Kart games ever made. All fantastic. The Pro controllers are great. The Wii U pad itself, though large, is easy to control and handle. Of course, Wiimotes still suck. So, if you don't have a Wiimote with a classic controller and you don't have another Pro controller laying around and you got to use the Wiimote for Mario Kart, hope you're good at it, or Smash. Because you got to use that still. Backwards compatible with Wii games, which is nice. You can play the Wii games that were good on it and throw the rest out. You can plug in a sensor bar, of course, because Wii games. So you can play Wii Fit and stuff like that with the console, which is great. So it's basically an upgraded Wii with some more features and bells and whistles and some extra games and stuff thrown on top. Pretty decent console overall, but I wouldn't say anything groundbreaking. So I'm going to put it middle of the pack with the B tier. The Wii. I still believe it is, best-selling home console of all time, with over 100 million units sold worldwide, which is insane. Mostly, let's be honest, to family and casual, because it was quite a cheap console pretty early on to its lifespan, comparatively to the PS3 and Xbox 360, at the very least. Had a lot of games that were geared towards families, geared towards, like soccer moms and stuff, that kind of shit. So, of course, Wii Fit, Wii Sports, Wii Game Party. What other ones do I have sitting over here? Yeah, Wii Fit Plus, of course. Shitty, like, Disney tie-in games and stuff. Just Dance, of course, which is, to be fair, kind of fun. Lego games. Yeah. Mostly disappointing stuff. Trash. There were, of course, a lot of good games. Super Mario Bros. Wii was a fantastic title. What else? Smash Bros, of course, for the console. Smash Bros, I believe that was Brawl, was really, really good, although people still preferred Melee. I did like Brawl. Mario Kart Wii was decent, with the steering wheel and stuff. The thing that really I don't like about the Wii is the motion control gimmick. I find it doesn't work good enough for it to be touted on a console for games like Mario Kart and stuff like that. Skyward Sword, love the game because I love the lore. I love Zelda. The story is fantastic, and the gameplay, if you can get outside of the motion controls, is good, but the motion controls ruin it for me for the most part. I just can't get into that game as much as I can most other Zeldas. The port for Twilight Princess, same kind of idea. I don't know. It's nice to get Twilight Princess cheaper, because the Wii version is like $20, whereas the GameCube version is like $80 fucking dollars. But I digress. I mean, it was okay. It was an okay console. Mums and young families loved it. Most Nintendo gamers, though, just weren't too impressed by it, myself included. I don't like the Wiimotes. I don't like how they feel. The classic controllers, once they got the bigger ones, like the gold one for GoldenEye and stuff, and the black ones with the, I don't know what they're called, elbows that come out, are great, but the standard classic controllers were just really small and kind of shit. So I'm going to have to C-tier this guy. Definitely nowhere near as bad as the Virtual Boy. I don't think anything else on this list is going to get that far down, but nowhere near as good as the Wii U, the Switch, or the Super Nintendo. Next, we come into handheld territory, although I guess with the Switch we've already done that. The 3DS. Have to admit, the updated graphics and stuff for the 3DS, they're definitely needed. That's what I bought the console for. It's got better everything, really. Around much bigger screen, which is really, really nice, but they even kept the size a little bit smaller, I think, than like the DSi XL and DS XL and stuff like that. So great console. The D-pad being semi-replaced by the little joystick thing, the C-pad, I think is what they call it, is also really, really nice. Easier movement and stuff like that in certain games. Love that. However, have never used the 3D ever. It gives me a headache. I have trouble lining it up in the original models. I know they have improved it with the new ones. The 3D is easier, but when the 2DS XL is your more popular version of the 3DS line, you have a bit of a problem there. So while the improvements were good, the overall gimmick of the console being 3D wasn't as good as it could have been, so the 3DS goes into a solid B tier. We have next the Game Boy Advance. I'm going to tie in the Advance SP with this as well, because they both played the same games, so you may as well just tie them both in. The regular Game Boy Advance was pretty cool, smaller than the Game Boy Color and the original Game Boy. Of course, better graphics and stuff like that, but the SP was the true leap. It was the first time we had that flip-open cover. If you got the 101 models, you had a backlight, which was amazing. Tons of great games like Link to the Past, ported over. You had Link's Awakening, which I think was Game Boy, never mind. You had, of course, like Pokemon Sapphire, Ruby, Emerald. You had just so many fucking good games on that. I played a Pirates of the Caribbean game on that for hours when I first got my SP, and I had so much fucking fun with it. It was an awesome game. You sailed around and did like pirate battles, or you went to these islands and got treasures and stuff, and you had to like get this grand treasure. It was so much fun, and I loved my SP until I lost it in Albany, New York when we were on vacation. Then I had to use my sister's shitty pink one, and I also lost that Pirates of the Caribbean game. So sad. But anyway, the Game Boy Advance / Advance SP, awesome innovation for the Game Boy line. Solid A tier for that guy there. It was a great advance, and that's why it's called Advance. The SP though is what takes the A tier. If the SP wasn't a thing and they jumped right into the DS line, I think the Game Boy Advance would have gone B tier just for A, non-rechargeable battery. That did not last long at all compared to the SP's battery, which I found lasted quite a long time, as well as smaller console and no backlight. Now, Game Boy Color. Oh boy. Game Boy Color was amazing. You got Pokemon Yellow. You've got fucking, Jesus, what is the Kirby game that was on that was really, really good? I don't even know. There's so many fucking things running through my head right now. Game Boy Color was amazing. It introduced color into the Game Boy games that we had known and loved in a more slick console that, while it did take, AA batteries, it drained them considerably less. There was a lot more customizable things. I remember getting the magnifying thing on it and the light, so you could see in the dark and stuff. I'd be sitting in the car with this big fucking contraption in my hand with the magnifying glass to make it bigger and the light on, and my parents just kind of like fucking looking at me, shaking their goddamn heads. Amazing console. The next step up from the Game Boy original for sure. But I think the Game Boy Color solidified Game Boy as a fully legitimized concept for the future lines in the Advance and the DS and the 3DS line into today, and being some of the best selling consoles of all time. S fucking tier for the Game Boy Color. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. The DS, so I'm including the DSi, the DS Lite, the original DS here. Of course, I think it was the DSi that played Game Boy Advance games as well as the original DS, but the DS Lite didn't. I could have that confused. But one of them didn't, the rest of them did. There was the XL version. DSi had an XL version, which was quite large, but did have a bigger screen, and it was XL, so really, can't really blame them. Lots of advancements in graphics, of course. You had some amazing games on there. This is where Pokemon really came into its modern day prime. You had, it's just a good fucking console. This is the first time too that we had the whole touch screen with the styluses, which worked quite well for especially games like any kind of RPG title that you have to manage stuff. Really great game for that. Of course, we did have some of the more disappointing Zelda titles in Phantom Hourglass and Spirit Tracks, but you digress there. You also did have like Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, which was really good. Pokemon Platinum and stuff with the DS line of consoles, and I believe it was the DSi or the DS Lite that introduced online, so you could download games, which was pretty awesome too. Overall, like, good step forward. Oopsie daisy. Nice step up for Nintendo. I'm gonna give that one a solid A tier. I think it's A tier. The original Game Boy, clunky, expensive, battery draining hell, but it did put Nintendo into that space so we could get everything we literally just talked about before. Solid performing console. It was okay. It had some screen problems, speaker issues, buttons got stuck quite a bit. It was big and clunky, and it drained batteries like nobody's fucking business. But it's the grandfather to it all, so I'm gonna have to put it in a solid A tier, just for what it created. The GameCube. Okay, I have a lot of love and a lot of hate for the GameCube. The love I have for the GameCube is the controller by far. The controller for the GameCube, in my opinion, is my favorite controller ever made. It is slightly above the Xbox 360 controller, or / the Xbox One controller, because there's really not that much difference. but it does edge those guys out. The GameCube controller is so fucking nice. It works great for just about everything. It's a different layout than everything, which is why a lot of people are like, well, it only works for Smash or fighting games. It works for everything if you know the controls and can get used to where they're placed. It's a compact controller that can accommodate large hands, which I love to death. The Game Boy player is awesome too if you can get a hold of that. You can play the Game Boy games and stuff on your TV. The portability of the console too is nice. It is very, very small and has a handle on the back, so if you want to take it to a friend's house, it's the easiest one to pick it the fuck up. Or if you really just want to use two of them as boxing gloves, that's up to you. It introduced, of course, the memory card, which the PS2 at that time also had, as well as the original Xbox, though the original Xbox was more so a storage console inside in hard drive space. But they did have memory cards. So there you go. There's your maybe didn't know of the day. I don't know. The things I don't like about it. So I'm going to talk about the last console a little bit harshly here. But this one here, the PS2 and the Xbox could play DVDs, whereas Nintendo went for its own format rather than DVD-style format like the other consoles went. So that severely restricted its ability to be a multimedia box like the rest of them were going, with online and stuff like that. Another thing, of course, is online. It struggled with online, so I don't believe it had online ever, whereas the PlayStation 2 did later on, and the Xbox always did with its very famous Xbox Live, which is the predecessor for most online gaming outside of PC, so any console online. So that was a big bummer for that. And of course, because the discs were, their own shape and stuff, there wasn't a lot of third-party support. Most people can name their favorite games on the console. Smash Bros. Melee, Super Mario Sunshine, Metroid, the whole trilogy was pretty good. What else? There was another Mario game. You got Star Fox, I think, was on the console, if you really like adventures for some reason, or Star Fox Assault. You had Cubivore, stuff like that. They're all first or second party. There's very, very little third party on the GameCube, and most of the reason was Nintendo's resilience, of course, because they are very well known for that in the past, but it was also because the discs and stuff were different and strange, and developers were just like, well, the PlayStation 2 is sold like triple what you have, and the Xbox is the same shit, so we'll just develop for those two consoles and make our money and see you later. So lots of love, lots of hate for the GameCube. Solid B tier console. Like Smash Bros. Melee was some of my best memories with my old friend Kenneth back out east. We went to his house and played it all the time with him and his brother and his cousin Michael, and it was just so much fun. But at the same time, I can't look past the GameCube's flaws. Now we have the grandfather of cartridge games and the grandfather and reinventor of the home console. The smart thing that they did, and everybody knows this, but I'm going to reiterate it anyway, is that Nintendo called this game console, and that's all it was a game console, an entertainment system, rather than a video game console. After the crash with Atari, people were very wary to buy home consoles, and, I can understand why. But Nintendo was smart marketing, got around that, sold enough for it to get into homes, and then people were like, okay, video games are cool again. Nintendo, of course, had its quality of seal on it, so it did help flush out a lot of the shit games, and the console, though, in its lifetime had 900 and some odd games. It never necessarily felt flooded by them, so nobody really felt like the old Atari days, where there was 20 consoles with 700 million games. All out at once, and you didn't know what was good and what wasn't. Of course, Nintendo Magazine also helped with that, with reviews and stuff like that, which was always good for that. The console itself, while nowadays it has pretty high failure rate, it is easy to repair. Generally, it's just the old pins in them need to be retightened or replaced, which can be done fairly easily. Most video game stores that are independent do it. Or you can always find somebody online in your local area that's going to do it through a Facebook page or something. They'll charge you, whatever, $20. You can get your console working again. The downside, of course, is because it's Nintendo and nostalgic. The games are very expensive. The controllers are primitive. They're blocky and small. I find them very hard to use, but you can get third-party ones that are much bigger and better. Plus, if you really want to, you can use stuff like the NES Advantage, which is just this giant fucking joystick on a pancake, which is awesome. Highly recommend playing some of the games on this console too. Of course, Super Mario Bros. 3, considered one of the best games of all time. But I would definitely check out the original Super Mario Bros. And Super Mario Bros. 2, even though it's technically not Super Mario Bros. 2 on it as well. You've got the original Kirby. You've got Zelda 1 and 2. What else have you got? That's pretty much it. A great console. Solid S tier for everything that it has done. It created this whole video game company for Nintendo. So, clap, clap. The last one here is the Nintendo 64. While the Nintendo 64 has one of my favorite games of all time on it, Ocarina of Time, as well as Majora's Mask, pretty much a straight-up tie, as well as GoldenEye 007, which was amazing. Doom 64 is a hell of a lot of fun. Destruction Derby 64 is one of my favorite games of all time. Such an awesome game. Love playing that game so much. It was like my childhood, man. Like, I had that in a Super Nintendo, and yeah. It was awesome. Destruction Derby, man. You've got Kirby 64, you got Dr. Mario, you've got all kinds of great titles on that console. However, it suffered like the GameCube did with third-party support because everything else was going disc. The Dreamcast and the PS1 all went disc, whereas they stayed cartridge, so the disc games looked better and played better. So a lot of companies went that direction, especially when the PS1 started selling really well, and people had confidence in Sega at the time before they decided to implode. The controllers, a lot of people complain about quite a bit. The joysticks get loose very, very, very easily. Of course, the three-prong design is very difficult to hold and navigate for certain titles. It's nice that it has a four-port, 4 players, which is awesome. The expansion pack, too, is also a great idea for the storage and stuff, and you can get the updated one, not the jumper pack, but the actual expansion pack with the red top. Yeah, I mean, that's about it. It was an okay console, but it did have a lot of flaws before Nintendo decided to move forward, and for that, it's going solid B tier. Well, that's it for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you agree with my list, let me know. If you don't, let me know what you disagree with and why. Let's keep it civil. No major hate. I don't think many people are going to disagree with my D-list choice here, but I can see some people yelling at me for where I put the Wii and N64 and Wii U and stuff. There are going to be some people that are Nintendo fans that are like, why are they not all S tier? What the fuck? But if you have any comments on it, or if you want to do your own, of course, you can always do that too. And go to, I believe that's tiermaker.com, and you can find all kinds of these cool tier lists and stuff that you can look at yourself and kind of talk to yourself and judge for yourself on that. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Peace.